I want to pose the question, why should a company be measured by the culture it creates?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the eComm Growth Show.
Do I say hi now or do I wait? I'm pretty much brain fried at this point.
Let's go.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of e-commerce world? I'm Robbie Switzer.
I'm Daniel Stafford.
We're super honored to be here today, guys. Super grateful to be talking to you about culture building, about how to build a die-hard team that thrives in a world gone remote. If you rewind 6 years ago, you'll find two young guys who, like most of you with the entrepreneurial bug, wanted to go out and do something great, do something amazing, make a lot of money. So naturally, coming from the town of 5,000 people that we do up here in Homer, Alaska, we knew exactly how to go about doing that. You take on an ungodly amount of debt, you go and you buy a commercial fishing operation, say goodbye to the family for months at a time, and then you go see how much fish you can catch and see if you're going to be successful doing that. And he has a real intimate background doing that. So why don't you tell a little bit?
So I'll dive into my story real quick, spend a little time here. So I actually grew up, I was born and raised on a commercial fishing boat. The first time I went out, I think I was like 3 years old. Spent a few weeks out then, but then I was a full-time deckhand, meaning I was working full-time, getting paid as a full crewman by the time I was 10. And so I had a really unique upbringing. That's the world I knew. And my dad has all these world records in the commercial fishing realm. Like, he's super good at it. But that's kind of what I grew up doing. And once I hit a point of like getting married and having kids and everything, it kind of lost its appeal to me. I realized I didn't love being gone away from my family. We just had a little boy and I was like, man, I can't do this forever. But
for a while, it was nice though, right?
It was nice for a while, yeah, because you go out and make a lot of money, then we're able to travel and everything. Yeah. But once we started having a family, I really started losing that desire. And one thing that really killed my desire is right when I got married, I did the Alaska thing, went into all this debt, bought a commercial fishing boat. I was doing really well at the beginning of the season, but one afternoon we're heading back to port with 10,000 pounds of fish on board, which was quite a bit. And we caught a big wave and we surfed down the front of the wave and actually ended up rolling the boat. And it was me and 3 other guys inside in this boat that was upside down. I was able to luckily crawl out the window, kind of crawl over the boat as it's rolling and call for help right away. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for all the heads to pop up, and thank God they did. Everyone survived. But I remember sitting there thinking, man, there's gotta be a safer, better way to make money. I mean, that's not what I thought right then. I felt like a failure, had all these overwhelming thoughts, lost my saving, almost lost my life. Yeah. But kind of after that, I was like, dude, there's gotta be a better way to provide for a family.
So though I didn't go and roll my boat, I still had a story that kind of paralleled his, where I got married actually to his little sister, bought the boat, went out fishing, and then just really loved the work hard, play hard lifestyle, being able to go and make money and then have a little bit of freedom in the off season. But dude, it got really hard to say goodbye to the family, and especially when I started having kids. And so I think, we both had a little bit of a transition and a desire to do something different. And it was actually hard enough for us and hard enough on our families that we were willing to basically play the fool and learn to do something entirely different. So we didn't really know where to start, but we did. We just dove in and we started a digital marketing agency. And now I'll skip a lot of the details here and forgive me for skipping some of the fun stories and the lessons that we've learned. But I really want to fast forward to where we are now, because over the last 6 years, we've grown our team from just the two of us to now 40 full-time employees, 32 of which are 100% remote. And so we've had to learn a thing or two about having a remote team. We've generated our clients over $100 million in e-commerce revenue directly attributed to the campaigns we run. So we know what we're talking about definitely in this industry. And we just want to share some of these insights with you today and some of the lessons we've learned, and really not just like managing a remote team, but actually building a culture where people are thriving, both personally and professionally, because to me, that's the whole key around enabling people to thrive in a world gone remote.
Yeah, so guys, what we're obviously talking about today is how to build a diehard team that thrives in a world gone remote. And number one, you have to partner with your people to thrive personally and professionally. but it starts with yourself, right? It has to start with you. So for Robbie and I, our professional journey, started with us coming out of commercial fishing and choosing a new life for ourselves that we were able to pick up tools, learn, but also learn to really thrive in the season we were in when we weren't even making a lot of money, when the business was just getting off the ground, when there was a lot of stress. We had to be able to take a step back and really take care of ourselves, so that way when we were getting success, we could pass those lessons, those things on to the team. So empowering your team, guys, starts with empowering yourself, learning those lessons so then you can pass them on.
Yeah, and I'd say part of that, which is kind of the second point here, is don't just say it, like actually live it out. So people are very smart. They can tell whether or not you're saying things for the sake of trying to get something from them. They can tell if you actually live by your core values, if you actually believe in your vision, or if you're just trying to use this as a hack to grow your business. And really that defeats the whole purpose. Really what you're trying to do is truly partner with your people. And you as a business owner, like, this is an extreme privilege. You literally have the power to make somebody's life a living hell, or empower them to do something amazing for themselves, for their family. And even, not everybody wants to have their own vision. Some people want to join you in yours. And so you really want to not just say these things, but actually live it out. And so part of the way that we do this is, every Wednesday we have a team meeting. And, these team meetings, they go something like us all getting together. And the funny thing about it is we don't even really talk about business. This meeting is literally dedicated towards helping people thrive personally and professionally. And it's morphed over time, but we start by basically, sharing any wins we have. It's always good to celebrate the good things that are going on. And then we kind of shift into sharing our core values, which, again, you really want to put a lot of time and energy into figuring out what your values are, because values drive culture. And then, from there, we're going to share a couple quick updates, and then we're giving somebody on the team the opportunity to talk about something that's meaningful to the other team members. And so the topics have included anything from like how to deal with failure, the value of suffering, to how to develop good habits. And it's just like, they spend 10 to 15 minutes talking about something that they think the team could benefit from, either personally or professionally. And then they kind of open it up for discussion. And it's really been an amazing thing where people are getting vulnerable, they're sharing personal stories, and they're actually experiencing real growth from it.
Yeah, because we're not in the office, obviously, every day bumping shoulders and having that level of small talk. So we try to create a really intentional time once a week where everyone can feel valued and their opinion is heard, and they're able to just to chat and share stuff that's meaningful to them.
It's so funny too, real quick, just the bar has been raised so much of those meetings, because what started out us just kind of like sharing some mindset nuggets. We used to call it like, let's have a mindset meeting and just kind of invest into our team that way. It has now become almost like these little mini TED Talks that happen just for our team. And it goes a long way. And the feedback we get from our team is that this work culture is entirely different from what I've experienced other places. And I actually feel like you do want me to thrive. And so if you want people to thrive and buy into your vision, make sure that their well-being is a part of that vision.
Yeah. Another thing we like to do and operate out of is overflow, and not a high pressure, high stakes environment. And so we believe that when we're taking care of ourselves, we're overflowing onto our team from a place of vision, from a place of inner peace, and that's going to get passed on to them. They're going to be able to take that and pass it on to our clients and prospects and so forth. And then same thing, like not having a high pressure, high stakes environment where we allow people to go out and make mistakes. We try to empower people, let them make their own decisions. If there is a mistake that's made, that's okay, because we can clean up a mess together. But we like to create kind of a low stakes environment, and that way people don't feel like their head's always on the chopping block and they don't know when they're going to get cut off. A lot of businesses nowadays are just operate from the place of hustle and grind, and they're trying to squeeze everything they can out of their employees and out of their people just to make more profit, where we have a much softer approach that works much better, and the feedback we get from that as well is amazing, and people feel really valued in it.
It's not a lack of accountability at all. It's just literally, rather than trying to beat somebody up for their performance, we're just trying to invest in them and get them first to a place where they're thriving, and then the performance come, and then the results come, and then there's all types of accountability. You need to have accountability if your team is remote, and so that's super huge. The last thing I would say on that is, on this point of overflow, overpressure, is that again, some of the most rewarding things you're going to feel as a business owner is when your people are thriving, is when they're doing well. And so this is an area where we do get a lot of great feedback, where they feel like, I actually believe that they're interested in my well-being. And it just goes right into the culture we're trying to build here.
Yeah. Are we going to hit on celebrate and reinforce too?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. That's all you, bro.
So it's really important when somebody is doing well, when they are growing, to call that out. And so that's why in those team meetings, we are celebrating our wins, and not just the business goals, but the personal ones as well. And so if somebody has the ability to go buy a new house, like, you better celebrate it.
Yeah, totally.
Because that's what's really going to reinforce this idea of, keeping people on the track of learning to thrive.
Yeah, if you're always just noticing what's wrong with people and what they're not doing, like you're just nitpicking them apart. But we focus so much heavily on the other side of celebrating, reinforcing the good behavior, that you actually get more of that. So I think what you celebrate and what you promote in people is actually what you get more of from them, instead of nitpicking them apart. It actually can create a worse person, worse worker in a lot of cases. So big on celebrating our employees. And then the last point here on how to partner with people is to get real live feedback from them. And this has been huge for us, because we really want to make sure we can give people feedback that feels like it comes from a place of love and care, and not like we're just trying to be harsh on them or brutal. But we want people to be open to feedback and to have a posture of being able to say, okay, how can I improve? And not get immediately defensive, put their walls up. So that's actually a culture we've tried to create amongst our leaders is, hey, when you need to give direct feedback sometimes, I don't want you to take this personally, or like it diminishes all the good that you do, but here's what needs to improve and why. And we have that connection with them where they know it comes from a good place. But it's so important to be able to get that live feedback and be able to give that direct criticism on the spot.
Yep, and it's a two-way street. So every week we send out a weekly check-in to our employees. It's not mandatory, it's not something we enforce, but it just asks them a few simple questions like, how was your week? What were a couple wins? What were a couple challenges? Anything you learned? And then, is there anything in your personal life that's affecting your work? And they don't have to share, but it creates a really cool opportunity for us as employers to help people in this idea of helping them to thrive personally, if we know what's going on in their life. And then of course there's a section like if they have any suggestions for us or feedback for us to share that as well. But quick story, there's a woman on our team, she found out randomly that her dad had a cancerous growth in his lip. And she said she was super stressed out, and honestly it is affecting my work. And so it gave us the opportunity to be able to say, hey, I'm really sorry about what's going on. Would you like some company airline miles to go down and be with your dad, like through the surgery? And long story short, he went through the surgery. She didn't end up going down. She didn't feel a need to, and everything was fine, and he's doing really good now. But something that virtually cost us nothing, we implemented a system here to be able to check in with people, meant so much to her. Just the fact that we would reach out, that we would even try to offer a solution. Obviously, there's not a ton we can do, but at least just, let her go be with her dad. The fact that we're doing this just really puts her in a position to feel supported and loved by us. And that's, again, one of the things that's really going to help her thrive in this culture.
Sometimes it's just the little things like that, right, that make a big difference for the employees. So we try to do that as often as we can. So we're going to transition into 3 ways to turn obstacles into strengths.
Yeah, so the first one is going from hard to manage to a culture of high freedom yet high accountability. So I think one of the biggest challenges for people who have remote workers is you don't know how much they're working. You really don't even know.
You have no idea.
It's surprising. No, you really don't know exactly, how many hours they're working, exactly what they're working on at what time. Yes, we have, project management software, even things to kind of track their time. But rather than, entering into this world where it's very tempting to micromanage your people, we found that it's much better to give them the freedom, but also hold them accountable. And so what that ended up being for us was this thing called a be your own boss policy. And effectively what that is an unlimited vacation policy. And the only way we're able to do that is
Can we just acknowledge the name though? That's a good name.
Yeah.
Be your own boss policy. Who doesn't want to hear that?
Which is actually one of our core values, to be your own boss, hold yourself to a higher standard than anyone else would ask of you, and manage your own time, your own resources, etc. But this doesn't work unless you know exactly what you need to get from your people. Yeah. Otherwise, there's too much vagueness. And so you take this challenge of working with people remotely and you turn it into a strength, because when people understand that they have something they're being accountable to, and they understand exactly what that is and they accomplish it, it gives them, first of all, a little bit of a high to know that they're on top of their stuff, but then they also get a benefit from the freedom that comes along with that. And I think it's, for anybody, I think it's pretty attractive to have an unlimited vacation policy. And so far, it hasn't been problematic, and we actually try to create opportunities for people to take time off, because there's language in this policy that would say if you're falling behind on your work, or you have certain projects coming up, like probably not the best time to go and take vacation. But at the same time, we've actually hired full-time people in each department to be a fill-in person, so that if the load is always heavy, if there's always clients needing something, there is somebody that can kind of step in and manage that. So you can at least take a week or two off here and there, and go get refreshed, because that's super huge.
Something important too that we did, especially you early on, was documenting all the SOPs that we're doing, all the standard operating procedures. Start building that out early of exactly what you're doing, and a checklist that's anyone can go through and just check it off. So that's kind of what we have for each department now, but it makes training and hiring so easy, and people have a structure that they can do, and if they're being efficient at it, because they're checking off these tasks.
Yeah, so definitely kind of making that transition from ambiguity to world-class standard operating procedures, and just mapping out those SOPs. Like you said, if you don't know where to start on that, just start recording it, and then have somebody go out and list those into sequential steps, and then you can kind of unpack that and put it into something like Trello or Asana. And you really want to do that for any task that is done on a repeating basis, so that when you are bringing people aboard, you have a way to train them, and you have a very specific way about doing something, so there's no vagueness. It's really hard, we work in a very high-tech industry, and so it's very hard sometimes to communicate highly technical information over Zoom or over the phone. And so the more you can kind of leverage SOPs and training videos and stuff like that to your advantage, the better off you're going to be.
And that's some of the most feedback we get from new hires is like, wow, we love your process and procedures, which I wouldn't necessarily expect when you're hiring people to be like, oh, I love process. Right. But people really do thrive in that, and they understand what their role is and what needs to be done. So that's been super helpful. I also want to apologize to you for jumping outside your SOPs.
That's totally all right. The last thing I would say on that is you don't have to do it this way, but basically what we've done, how we've been able to pull this off, is we built an entire, basically you see all these online courses, these crash courses online, they're built on Kajabi or something like that. We built that out for us internally. And not only do we go over the functions of any given role in our business, whether you're a salesperson, a media buyer, an account manager, we also take that opportunity to share with them our vision for the company, our values that we expect everyone to operate out of, and kind of define the culture that they're coming into. And so they have a very awesome onboarding process where they get to learn about me and Daniel, they get to learn about the company they're working for, what our big goals are, even in terms of like giving back and stuff like that. And then they get into the training of their job description. So it feels world-class to them, and we get great feedback there. So again, you don't have to go that extensive, but you definitely need super clear SOPs if you're going to be working with people remotely.
So the third point here is from isolation and loneliness to meaningful connection. And if I'm going to be honest, Rob, I forget a lot of the sub points here, the stories. So why don't you springboard us?
So basically, if we were all working in the same office together, if all 40 of us were here, the chances are we're not going to sit down every Wednesday in a big circle and, share our wins, give these little talks, and create these opportunities for us to connect. We're just going to operate the way that most offices operate. We're all going to go into our rooms, get onto our computers, and start doing this thing because we have a tendency to take relationship for granted and take connection for granted. And it's so easy too, in a very competitive industry, in a booming industry, in a fast-paced industry, in an industry where you're always under attack. We have all kinds of stuff attacking the way we advertise, and we have to adapt and be on the fly all the time. You rarely prioritize connection. But when you get, when you're working with remote people and you realize that is actually like a huge human need that's not being met because we are working remote, we actually flip the script and we use that as something to really connect. And so these weekly check-ins, these team calls, I honestly believe they wouldn't take place if we didn't have our team, spread out across the country. And so I'm actually really grateful for that. And it's another way that you can take, something that would be really hard with working remote people and use it as a strength for your company.
Yeah, and just to quickly recap what the three ways to turn obstacles into strengths are. You got number one, from hard to manage to a culture of high freedom and high accountability. Number two, from isolation and loneliness to meaningful connection. And then number three, from ambiguity to world-class standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
Ready to move on, Rob?
Let's do it. So to bring this whole thing home, guys, is I want to pose the question: why should a company be measured by the culture it creates? And plain and simple, because it actually matters. I said this earlier, but you as a business owner literally have the privilege to make somebody's life awful or super great. And that's something that we don't take lightly. We really want to be able to partner with our people and build a culture that's edifying, that's encouraging, and our vision is actually in line with something that's healthy for them in their lives as well. And again, it's a self-perpetual motion. It's something that builds momentum. When something's achieved, it just rolls into itself and we create a snowball effect. And the result is awesome. We all know, we all have had these experiences where you're transacting, where you're doing business with somebody who is empty inside and they hate their life. If you're talking to a customer service rep on, customer support, and they're treating you like garbage, and you can tell they're having a bad day because they've just been, probably a ton of pressure from their bosses, probably a ton of pressure from people calling. Nobody wants to live in that environment. And so, I really do think, we as business owners have the privilege to create a culture that actually makes the world better.
Yeah, and I love building businesses. We love making money and providing for our families and stuff, but something so much more fulfilling is the connections that we're changing, or not the connections we're changing, but the connections we're making in the lives that we are changing. It's so fun to hear employees say, hey, I just bought a new house, or hey, I'm buying rental properties, or they're able to buy their first car, or they're saying, hey, I've never felt valued in a job before, like this is amazing. So that stuff to us is way more important than the profit of the business, and it's so much more meaningful to actually impact and change people's lives along the way.
Yeah, and to get heavy for a moment, when you're laying down and you're breathing your last, chances are you're not going to be thinking about either crushing your annual revenue goals or your quarterly goals, or falling short of those. You're going to think about the people you love, and you're going to wonder whether or not you gave it your all, and whether or not you took advantage of the relationships that were brought into your life, whether that's work or friends or your close family. And so, legacies are built through culture, and we really want to show up and create a legacy with what we're doing. And it's all these things added together that have kind of given us the ability to build a diehard team that is thriving in a world gone remote. And again, they definitely need to be a part of that vision. If you want them to give them your all and buy into your vision, like, they need to be a part of that vision.
Dude, that was good. I don't know what else to add to that. That was a good ending.
Again, guys, thank you so much. We've definitely enjoyed speaking to you about culture building, about working with people remotely. And those are some of the lessons that we've learned, and we hope you benefited from this and kind of picked up some nuggets yourself today.
All right, see you guys.